Hi, I'm Tom Loucks for Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. This is Get to Know Your City, and today I have Jim Neitzel from the Wastewater Treatment Facility, and we're going to learn more about what's happening over there. So welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. Well, Jim, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, your career? I know you've been with the city for quite some time, and you're the superintendent over there, I guess.
I am. I started working for the city in 1979 in the street department. I worked there until 1991, I believe. I took over the sewer construction supervisor's job. Worked as a construction supervisor, putting in all of our utilities, which were water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer. We brought the road up to grade, ready for the other crews to come in and actually build the road. I did that until, 2005, and in 2005 I had the opportunity to move as the superintendent into this wastewater plant. So I've been at the wastewater plant since 2005, and been there ever since. So I've been here for 37 years. I think I'm the oldest employee at the city.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change recently. A lot of people retiring.
Oh yeah, I'm knocking on that door too.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your staff. You supervise, how many employees you have over there. I'm kind of curious. I'm sure some of the viewers are as well.
Well, our staff, all of our staff are either in training or they are grade 4 wastewater operators. There's a program that you have to go through with the DNR. It's actually a state statute that you have to have grade 4 operators, depending on your plant. Some plants are different, but ours is a grade 4, so we have a chief operator, then we have 4 operators, and they all work 7 days a week. They work the holidays, so we're there every day of the year. So there's guys, they have to work through Christmas, and they all understand that and take that responsibility on. We have one chief operator who is directly under me. Every one of them works in the lab. Then we have 2 guys that work the collection system or sanitary sewer maintenance. We have 130.8 miles of sewer that they have to take care of. So they're either cutting roots or, cleaning dead ends or cleaning the sewers, trying to keep the sewer maintained. We also just acquired a software program whereby we're planning to get the whole city sewer system televised within the next 5 years, and the software program is really going to help us do that and make those records easily retrievable for many different people for good reasons, for design. So we can spend the money where it's best spent instead of just trying to put out fires.
Well, the wastewater treatment plant located here in Wisconsin Rapids is up on the east-south side of our town,
Right.
well, kind of east-south, over by the river. I know that you guys have done some kind of a remodeling process under your tenure there, is that right?
We did.
Let's talk a little bit about that and really why that happened, what the need was, and then also tell me what our treatment plant can do different than maybe other communities around us.
Well, one thing that went into the planning, and the reason we did expand it, was Ocean Spray Cranberries bought Northland Cranberries and expanded their plant out there. They needed the wastewater capacity to operate their plant, and then along came Urban Cranberries, which is now Mariani Cranberry packaging. They also needed our services, so we expanded the plant to accommodate their needs. But on average, for most treatment plants, you're in a 20-year cycle for an upgrade, because that's how long equipment usually lasts, and then you have to start looking at new stuff. So we were right at the end of that 20-year cycle. So we did some things that didn't necessarily include the needs of the industrial users, but we did spend quite a bit of money. It was a $28 million upgrade. And what we did is increase the capacity of the plant, the treatment capacity of the plant. We also built the buildings so that we have the ability to put more processing equipment in there without building more buildings. We just put the equipment in and pipe it in, and we can actually expand the plant to 4 times its capacity right now without going outside our fence. So it's set up for expansion, and economic development if we need more capacity for other industrial users.
Let's take a visual tour of the plant. Let's say the water comes in on a pipe through the city. You flush your toilet or your drain, I believe. I guess you can let me know, maybe your drain is separate, that I'm not sure. It goes to your plant. Let's talk about where and the steps it goes.
Well, I'll go right from your toilet. So, so you flush your toilet, it runs out your sewer lead, that connects to the sewer main. The sewer main will, all the sewer mains end up at a lift station. We have 17 lift stations in the city. Most of them are smaller ones, but we have to have the lift stations because of the elevations of the city, the land layout. Typically, one lift station should service a 40-acre area. That's the design behind it. Then those all get pumped to. We have 4 major lift stations. Those lift stations pump the water to our headworks. The headworks is the highest part of our facility. At the top, there's a screening mechanism that screens out anything a 1/4 inch or larger. Then there's a grit chamber that takes out sand and other grit. Those are all separated out. So what you're trying to do is right from the beginning, you're trying to get everything out of the water that you can. Then from there, it flows to a clarifier. It's all gravity flow throughout the entire plant after the headworks. Goes to a clarifier. The clarifiers, they're two big tanks. Can't tell you what the gallons are, but it's a lot. And they settle out the settleable solids. They have a detention time of about 6 hours. That gets pumped out of those tanks into our digester feed tank. From there, it goes to what we call the moving bed bioreactor, which is a MBBR. It has a media in it that holds bacteria. That was one of the big features of our upgrade, because the tank is designed to do about 10 times the amount of treatment that a regular aeration basin would do without any media in it. Excuse me. And then, so that's where all the bacteria eats all the food that comes in. And once it leaves there, it goes to a final clarifier. So the bacteria is flowing out. It's going to a final clarifier where it settles out in the final clarifier. The clean water rises to the top. That goes over a weir. In the summertime, we treat it with our UV lights. Those UV lights either kill the pathogens and sterilize the bacteria, or the other way around. I can't remember which. So that when it goes out to the river, it's safe. We treat from May 1st to October 1st. The UV, the reason it's that time space is that's when people are in the river and using the river, swimming, boating. In the winter, we don't use the UV lights. The pathogens and bacteria only survive, most of them only survive for maybe 24 hours, and they die naturally. So, in a nutshell, that's what it is. There's a lot more complication to it, but I don't know if we want to go into that.
Sure. Well, the water has to be tested from time to time, I believe, in your lab. You were talking about a lab earlier. Is that something that you or employees have to do and mark it down so to review?
Well, yes. We have a DMR, which is a discharge monthly report that we So we're testing 7 days a week, every day of the year we're testing. So we test for biological oxygen, biochemical oxygen demand, which we call BOD. That's what that is to explain it would be, this tells you how much food or is in the wastewater, how strong the wastewater is versus clear water. We have a phosphorus limit. We also have I'm trying to think. So we have phosphorus. This is where we're going to have to edit it, I think. So we have BOD, which is biochemical oxygen demand, total suspended solids, phosphorus we test for, and in the summer we do fecals. We have a limit of 30 milligrams per liter on the BOD, the TSS, and then our phosphorus is less than 1 milligram per liter. And our limit for fecals, which is the indicator organism that we use, is 400 count on a plate, because we grow them. We're usually much lower than that. We're in single digits, so we put out a pretty good wastewater discharge. I mean, it's pretty clean. It's cleaner than our regulations, but it just works for us, and you always like to have that margin in there. You don't want to be pushing it to 30 because if you do, we send monthly reports into the DNR. All this is recorded, and they look at that, and if you start to violate your discharge permit parameters, they'll be knocking on the door.
Yeah, which wouldn't be good.
No.
So you're always testing every
day.
Every day, and probably have a chart, monitor it, and if something goes wrong, you can kind of adjust and need to as a superintendent.
Yep.
Well, if you're just joining me for Get to Know Your City, I have Jim Neitzel, Superintendent for the Wastewater Treatment Facility right here in Wisconsin Rapids. So Jim, what is the difference between Waterworks and lighting water, because that's water we drink, and yours? We don't drink your water. As we talked about, it goes in the river.
Correct.
But some of the processes are somewhat similar, isn't that right?
Yeah, I think in general, Waterworks and Lighting Commission uses a lot of the same. Everything's piped. They use a lot of pumps. They have a treatment plant of their own. I don't know what all their processes are, but I know that they settle out solids. They add chlorine. They do regular testing. I'm sure it's every day to make sure the water's safe to drink. We do the same thing. The main difference is that we have to do a lot more to the wastewater than they do to the groundwater that they're pumping out of the ground, because their water's a lot cleaner coming into their plant than ours is.
Well, sinks go into the same as the toilet, is that right? A
Yep.
sink? So chemicals or things like that, is that a problem if people dump down something they shouldn't dump down, like silver stuff?
No, they shouldn't. There's a long list of things that is in our sewer use ordinance that you can't dump in. I think one of our biggest problems is people will put rags or disposable wipes, like Clorox wipes, that are, you pull them out of a jar. When those come into the treatment, when you flush those down the toilet, we've actually had to replace a number of pumps that will grind those rags up. You're not supposed to put any rags, any solids, no, fats, oils, greases. Once in a while, we'll have an operator. They always go up and check the bar screen, and they'll say, "Well, I can smell gasoline, or I can smell paint," or because it'll come in the wastewater, and they'll be able to smell it in the building. That's not good for the wastewater treatment system either. But probably our biggest problem is with these these rags that people should be throwing in the toilet. In fact, it's in the wastewater magazines that are nationally put out, because it's much bigger than one would think. There's a lot of money involved in it throughout the world. It's always one of those things they're always talking about, because it costs us and the ratepayers who are paying us a lot of money. You know, you have to go out and buy a new pump that costs $7,000 that doesn't really need to be replaced, only because somebody's throwing rags in the sewer.
Wow.
You know, that's the kind of thing you're talking about.
So flushable wipes, a little different. They
Right.
When they say flushable, what do they, or toilet paper?
Well, they'll
does
just-
that disintegrate? or
Yeah, they'll
something?
disintegrate. You know, toilet paper disintegrates into the water. These rags stay whole.
Okay, I'm sure you've seen some unique stuff get flushed down the toilet you found in your lift stations. Is that where we go first?
I think one of the most amusing things is we found a pair of false teeth. We found 2x4s. I can't think of much else. A lot of insignificant stuff, but yeah, you find some weird stuff.
Yeah, because whatever goes down there. Now, a lot of times things get plugged though right at the toilet. Is that your problem or a plumber's problem?
Actually, the ordinance says that from the sewer main out in the street back into the property owner's home, the property owner is responsible for all that. The city is responsible for the main and keeping those flowing, and that's where our responsibility ends.
How does a backup happen? We've all heard it. People have had stuff in their basement. You can have insurance, I believe, for that. A lot of people do, and you should. But how does a backup happen? Is it from someone shoving rags down and it does the main line?
That can happen. We can end up with roots in the line that we don't know about, and you know, we actually, when I'm done with this interview, I'm actually going to go back and talk to my maintenance group leader, and we're going to get a list of root areas to cut. But you can get roots. People can put, if they put rags in the sewer, that rag will get hung up, and then over time, it'll hang up other things, and then it plugs. We've had that happen a number of times. You know, it could happen from a pipe failure, which is not very common. It's happened. I think in my time here, I think it's happened 2 times in 37 years, but it does happen.
Your diameter, your pipe main artillery line that it connects to out at the street, is that like 6 inches, 8 inches?
No, the smallest sewer that we have is 8 inches, and those are mostly in residential areas. And then, as you know, the farther out the pipes are, the smaller they are in what we call the drainage basin. So as they get closer to the, you know, as they keep flowing downstream, the pipes get bigger and bigger to accommodate more flow. And I think our biggest pipe, I think the pipe on the west side of the river is 30-inch pipe, and the one on the west side, or the east side, is, I think that's 24. But those are some of the biggest mains we have. Bigger cities, they get crazy big.
I know our city sweeps the streets a lot, probably even during late winter. Is that help with wastewater so the salt and stuff doesn't go down the storm catch?
Well, that water all goes into the storm sewer. It does help because sand does get in through the manhole covers, but that's mainly for stormwater. And then actually our maintenance crew cleans 25% of the catch basins. They suck all the sand out of the catch basins down the street. You know, we're required by the DNR to prove that we're taking care of sand going into the river, and our street sweepers and our guys that vac out all the catch basins are part of that reporting, so that DNR knows we're taking care of business.
I believe that's the truck that's sometimes in the middle of a road. Is that right?
Yeah.
With a big hose?
It's huge,
And
yes.
Take a, they're sucking something out of the
Right.
bottom down there?
Yeah, they're sucking sand or
Oh.
roots or other debris, whatever we need to take out. Sometimes we
roots.
suck bricks out.
So you're not using the old General Snake
Oh,
anymore?
no.
That wouldn't cut it, would it?
No, our jet on our truck is, they can produce up to about, I think, 3,000 PSI of pressure with their nozzles. I think the hose that goes down there is probably 1.5 inches in diameter on the inside. They're blasting a lot of water through.
Wow.
So they're really, it's really taking care of business.
Well, your operation's 24/7. Is there somebody at the plant at all times, or is there a bell or a whistle that alerts somebody that if there is a failure?
The way it works is we have a SCADA system, which the plant is actually run mostly by computer program. We have a SCADA board. Our operators can go, we have a big screen TV, so they can go on this big screen and they can look at just about everything that's going on in the plant. They can turn equipment on and off. They can reset how it pumps. You can do a lot of work with that. That also includes a program that's called Win 911, which if there is an alarm when we are not there, will automatically call one of our operators 7 days a week, carries a phone, and so if something goes wrong on off hours, it will automatically call that person. That person will come in and take care of what the issue is. If he needs more help, he'll call other people in. So we have a system whereby we take care of things because you can't ignore them.
I'm sure it's happened before.
Oh yeah.
It's not just a simple process that it goes in and out to the river and you're all happy.
No, it's nothing like that.
Right. Most people think it's, simple.
There's so much equipment involved. It's crazy.
Keeps you going. Well, you went under some change recently. You're now I think you're always under the Public Works Department, but now we have a Public Works Director. So I believe you report to that person, Joe Terry, is that right? And I had him here earlier this year.
Yes.
How's that working for you?
Great. I got a great relationship with Joe. He understands wastewater. He's great support for me and, our little kingdom over there. So I actually reported to the mayor up until Joe came on, and every mayor that I've ever dealt with has got so much going on that they couldn't give me the attention that Joe puts in.
Well, there's a lot of stuff over there to take care of. This isn't just your simple process. You cover a lot of acres over there of even space, and the gallons of wastewater. It doesn't stop. Someone's flushing the toilet right now as we speak.
Absolutely,
guaranteed. So, kind of interesting to see a televised of those lines someday.
Well, we've been out doing on it. We've been aggressive. The engineering department wants. I think I've said this before earlier, and that they want to get every sewer televised within the next 5 years, so we know the complete condition of our sewer system and start to put money where it's needed most in repairs or relining, what have you.
All righty, Jim. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that maybe people would want to know about on the wastewater treatment plant?
Not that I can think of. We are in a rate study right now. We hired an outside firm. They came in and they're doing a pretty intensive rate study. We know that down the road we're going to have to raise rates, I believe. We just don't know how much yet. But we're hoping to get that done within the next month and a half, and we'll take it from there.
I know one thing I wanted to ask before we conclude this interview was you're not just Wisconsin Rapids. You treat some other areas, is that right?
Yes, we treat, Rudolph just came on a few years back. Their wastewater system was failing, and they decided the smartest thing to do was put in a force main from Rudolph to Wisconsin Rapids. People might have seen that when they were going out Highway 34, all the construction that was going on along the roadway there. We treat Buren. We've treated Buren for a long time, and those are the two outlying communities that take care of us, or we take care of.
And it's probably a lot more reasonable for the it's not taxpayer, but the rates, rather than have their own treatment facility. You have a state of the art here, so.
Right. I think the DNR has some influence in that because the DNR is actually a watchdog for the ratepayer. So it doesn't, it doesn't make a lot of sense for, say, a village like Rudolph to build a new treatment plant, which could cost them, $15 million, and then versus putting the pipe to us. I don't know what the cost of their installation of pipe was, but I know it wasn't $15 million. It just makes economic sense for you to pipe it into another facility and just pay for the treatment.
And the pipes nowadays last for a long time.
Well, they're all supposed to last for 100 years, but
yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, that thing, it could change. Like Grand Rapids now, they're still a septic system. Is that right? They use a septic
Yes.
tank, so that's all totally different process. There's nothing to do with wastewater. Each landowner has their own tank.
I believe, I've never really looked at it, but we probably treat most of Grand Rapids wastewater too, but it's all trucked in because we have a dumping station for the septic haulers, and they're in there every day dumping.
And you probably use, a lot of your stuff has to go to landfill too, right? Because there's sludge and stuff. It just doesn't dissipate.
Right, the sludge that we have, which is leftover nutrients, and it's actually dead bacteria because all the waste has been eaten by the bacteria. All it is bacteria. We process that at the plant, turn it into a cake, which is like I don't know. It has kind of the consistency of Jell-O when we get done with it. But we have a drying bed that's out by Veolia, or Advanced, I'm sorry. And it's a 4-acre pad, and we dump this sludge out there. It doesn't compost, it just dries out, and it goes from about a 17% solid to about a 70% solid. Then we have a company that comes in and land applies it. They just finished doing that last week. So they haul it out, they take it out to farmers' fields and incorporate it into the farmers' fields, and they reuse this product. We do haul, our screenings get hauled right to the landfill, but that's like a dumpster, probably two dumpsters a week.
Oh, that's not much.
No.
So a lot of reuse. So that's great. And that's something maybe wasn't done years and years and years, 20, 30 years ago. I'm sure.
No. Well, that's why the Clean Water Act came in, and the rivers. I know the rivers here were in bad shape. They used to be full of foam. I grew up in Onalaska by La Crosse. I remember listening on the radio when I was a kid, and they would tell you what the fecal count was in the river, so to let you know whether or not you could swim at the Black River Beach. And it was each day it was different. So it was fecals coming in because the treatment wasn't near as good as it was these days.
Yeah, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jim. Really appreciate you coming by the studio and telling us all about your job as well as the wastewater treatment plant.
Sure, I hope people find it interesting. I always tell my employees there's not a lot of glory in what we do, but there's a lot of security.
Yeah, well, without it, we would be really in trouble.
Exactly.
It wouldn't work. But thanks again for joining us here on Wisconsin Rapids Community Media for Get to Know Your City. I'm Tom Loucks here for the City of Wisconsin Rapids, and next time we'll be back with another program. Thank you for joining us.